Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 51 of View to a Kakuranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show, we share our thoughts with you, the listeners. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
How hot? It's insanely, it's late September and it's like 90 degrees out.
It is very hot today.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Climate change. We're all going to die. I'm glad I don't live by the coast, et cetera, et cetera. It's the end of the world, Matt.
Yeah, but it'll be like 60 degrees later this week. So it's only the end of the world today. And then maybe again later. But, you know, it'll be cool for now, I guess. Anyway, in lighter news, today we are watching episode 51 of Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. It is called Hero Elimination. But Dave, before we get into that, we have to get through our two-time award-winning opening segment, Dave, Shining in the Heavens, There Are 5 Stars. What, pray tell, is our first star of the week?
So our first star of the week, Matt, is it's not actually anything jokey. It's just good news. If somehow you haven't heard this already,
news you can use.
Yeah, is that Shout Factory is now streaming Zyuranger through O-Ranger for free on their website. So if you've been listening to our show for a while and you haven't gotten around to watching the DVDs, then Shout Factory just did you a huge favor, which is giving you their product for free. I'm not actually sure why Shout Factory is doing this, but I approve.
Well, they haven't put up the most recent season that they released on DVD. So, like, Car Ranger is on DVD, but is not yet streaming on their site. And Mega Ranger is, like, about to come out, I think, but is not yet streaming on their site. So I think that they are, like, releasing their back catalog for streaming. But that is great because we are about to be rolling into O-Ranger in a few weeks here. So you, the listeners, if you have not been purchasing the DVDs and want to be watching along, or if you know anybody else who is going to be watching those coming up soon and want to have something to listen along with, that is what I call synergy, bro.
Yeah, that worked out really well. Again, Shout Factory. We would absolutely be your official podcast.
The fact that we're not already their official podcast is a little bit insulting. I'm not going to lie.
I'm going to say a tiny bit.
We've been doing this every week for 3 years.
We love you guys.
Anyway, it's not actually insulting.
That's a ridiculous thing to say. But we would absolutely.
Asterisk then at the bottom of the page, it is actually insulting.
Yeah.
Anyway, we just wanted to let y'all know.
So, Matt, what is our second star of the week?
Second star of the week, Dave, is a television program that I have been watching. It's not a long-running television program. It is a program that was showing on my television.
That counts. That's a television program. I've
backflipped through this enough. I was watching the Mae Young Classic this week. I'm like a week or two behind on it. But if you are unaware, Dave, or if you, the listeners, are unaware, this was a professional wrestling tournament that the WWE put on their network, which is still only $9.99 a month, as I understand it. And it was a women's wrestling tournament, and it was super good.
Now, Mae Young she was like a lady wrestler from like back in like the 50s or 60s or something, right?
Yeah, you got it. I believe so. I don't actually know a ton about Mae Young, but yeah, she was like a very old school wrestling person who then sort of like stayed in the business for a lot of her life. Anyway, so what's cool about when WWE does these tournaments, because they did it with the Cruiserweight Classic and then also the UK tournament that they did last year, they bring in, like, there are a few people who are in the tournaments who are part of the WWE normally, who you watch like week to week, but they also use it as a chance to bring in a lot of new talent. And so what's really exciting about it is not just that you get to watch a lot of cool wrestling, but you get to see like people and styles that you are unfamiliar with.
Oh, okay. Now, how much, like, I am tangentially interested in wrestling. Like, I'll watch it if it's on, and I like watching it with you and our buddy Josh. How stylistically different is wrestling if you go from, like, the WWE to Japan to Mexico to, like, wherever?
Oh, it is super different.
No kidding.
Yeah, like, you wouldn't necessarily think that that there's that much room to be that different.
That's kind of exactly what I would think, yeah.
But, like, the WWE style is very much like they have a house style, and people sort of, like, work within that to, like, you know, do one version of it as opposed to another. But if you compare, if you watch Monday Night Raw and then you go on Netflix and watch some, like, Lucha Underground, and then you go on YouTube and look up some videos of, like, New Japan Pro Wrestling, like, they're all very clearly and definably professional wrestling.
Yeah.
But the styles are a lot different. Some are a lot more showy. Some are a lot, like, you know, it looks like the hits are a lot stiffer. You know, like, it looks more like someone is actually connecting. There are a lot of stuff. I think a lot of UK style wrestling is a lot of, like, submissions and chain wrestling as opposed to, like high flying or like big dudes just, like, slamming into each other.
Oh, no kidding.
And
well,
so,
that's all pretty cool.
Yeah, and so when you see these international tournaments, you see not only people who are coming out of these different, like, wrestling schools around the world, but you get to see them also interact with each other. And so, like, the final match of this tournament was a Japanese woman named Kairi Sane who looks like a Final Fantasy, like, pirate princess.
I have definitely seen pictures of her.
Yeah, she is amazing, and she has, like, the sick, nastiest elbow drop of all time. Versus a woman named Shayna Baszler, who used to be an MMA fighter and has, like, just come over into professional wrestling, like, 2 years ago.
That seems like a weird switch, but okay.
People do it sometimes. Brock Lesnar sort of has gone back and forth between WWE and UFC.
Brock Lesnar is just a professional large man. Like, that is his... Like, he has
professional
done
large man / sandwich aficionado.
Yeah, like, he played, like, pro football for a minute, and he was in the MMA, and he's done WWE. Like, he's a professional large man, is what he does. So that does not surprise me at all.
But yeah, it was very cool. They did all of the other, like, the full tournament down where they do NXT, so it's like a smaller arena. But then for the finals, they had it, like, in, like, I think it was attached to one of, like, either SmackDown or Raw, so, like, it was a full stadium full of people, and they had, like, a whole red carpet thing leading up to the finals. They made a big showy deal of it. It was super cool, and if you like wrestling, specifically if you like women's wrestling, definitely check it out. It's super good.
Yeah, and I will say, we may have mentioned this on the show before, but I feel like if you just told me, like, oh, women's wrestling, my immediate reaction would be to assume that this is basically, like, a lurid sort of, like, thing. That it's, like, very sexualized and blah, blah, blah. And let me say, I have actually not, at least recently, I have not found that to be the case.
No,
like,
I
ladies
think
wrestling is rad wrestling. Like, these are excellent wrestling performers. I've only really watched a whole lot of NXT, but I was, like, super impressed. Like, it's really, really rad. So just, like, that's a thing. This is not like a weird, like, ooh, ladies wrestling sort of thing. It's really good wrestling.
Yeah, and, like, I think that you maybe got that impression because that is definitely what women's wrestling was when we were growing up.
Yeah, that's totally true. Which I think is probably why.
Yeah,
definitely.
But yeah, it is 100% rad, and you should check it out. And speaking of things that we have checked out, Dave, what is our third star of the week?
So it's a short one, man. I was coming home today, and in Ohio, you can get something called historical plates for your car.
Yeah, this might be the case in other states too. I
it
only have experience buying license plates in Ohio.
Right, it would make sense to me that it would be. But a historical plate is like if you drive a snazzy older car and you want to register it specifically as like a historical car, you can get these plates. And usually where you see them is, like I said, somebody has spiffed up like a 57 Cadillac and it's got historical plates on it. And the only benefit, as far as I can tell, as far as I know from having historical plates, is that it has to be like a certain age old. Like you cannot put historical plates on like a recent car. And if it's registered as a historical car, you get like a bunch of money off of your insurance because there's something about like agreeing to not drive it like too many miles. Like the understanding is like, yes, it's a motor vehicle. Yes, you can drive it, but like it's primarily a historical showpiece. And so you're not like taking road trips in this thing, right?
Right. It's not like your commuter car, or it's not meant to be.
Precisely. So I'm driving by this driveway and I see, and they look very different. So they sort of stand out. So I see historical plates and I look at the car to which it is attached, and it is like a beat to heck, like 80s wood panel station wagon. And I was just reminded that although basically people use these historical plates for their snazzy 57 Caddy, the only actual requirement is that the car be like 25 years old. And I think this person just looked at their beat-up station wagon and said, well, it is 25 years old. I don't drive it that much. And they just put historical plates in that bad boy. And I laughed out loud in my car.
That is amazing. And I am super jealous because I used to drive a 1988 Honda Civic.
See, you could have done. You would have been super close.
Well, I was a few years away when that car like literally fell apart. Like no joke. I don't know if I've mentioned on the podcast before, but one day like I parked my car in a parking lot to go into a place to get a sandwich. In the time between like me going in and like eating the sandwich and coming back out, a wheel had fallen off of my car.
Yeah,
just like in the parking
fell
lot.
Out.
The control arm rusted away from the like bottom part of the car, and so the wheel was just like still kind of attached, but like sideways. Anyway, but I was really bummed because I really desperately wanted historical plates, Dave, because not only do you get like a big savings on your like insurance and like registration fees, but historical vehicles no longer have to pass an emissions check.
Oh, nice.
Which is probably what that dude was thinking. He's like, well, my car is 25 years old. It does still run, but there is no way on
pass
earth
an emissions check
it will pass the emissions check. So I'll just get the historical plates and everything will be cool.
Well, it seems to be working out for that dude, so good for him. What, Matt, is our third star of the week?
Our fourth star of the week, Dave.
Our fourth star of the week, Matt.
Is that yesterday I was out with our sister. We were out buying some houseplants because our houseplants had died and we needed to replace them again. I'm beginning to believe that I am not good at houseplants. But so we were out, and as we were out, we had been playing Dungeons and Dragons the night before, and Katie said, oh, you know what? I would like to get another set of dice. Because... Because like that is the sickness that like creeps into your mind when you start playing D&D, is that you always need more dice.
I cannot tell you how excited I am. Our sister has played 5 or 6 sessions of Dungeons and Dragons, I think, at this point, and has, I believe, 2 sets of dice already.
Yeah, but you know how it is, man.
Oh, no. I do know how it is, Matt. I get it. What I love is that is not, because that's not like something we taught her. We didn't say like, oh, when you start playing Dungeons and Dragons, you need a bunch of dice. She just started, like, there's something inherent about the experience of playing Dungeons and Dragons that just gets into your brain and makes you say, I need more dice. I have to have these dice. These dice are bad. I didn't test them before I started playing, and it turns out I got bad ones, and now I need new ones.
Yeah,
just the fact that it was a spontaneous expression.
Yeah, like, and also, like, when you cast Cloud of Daggers, that's 4d4. If you don't have 4 sets of dice, then you need to roll some twice, and that is for jerks and losers.
Yeah, that's completely unacceptable.
That is a sucker's game right there. And so we were out, and I popped open my phone. I'm like, okay, where is a game store around here? Because I actually don't live near a game store myself. Mm-hmm. And I looked it up. I'm like, okay, somewhere out in like a few suburbs over, there is a hobby shop that looks like they will have dice.
Okay.
So I put it into my phone, and we started following the directions. Now, when we get near to where it is, this place is in such a location that there was no final step of turn left into the driveway or into the parking lot, and now you are here. It's I got to the general area of a series of plazas, and my phone was just you did it! Congratulations! But I had no idea where this place was. And normally, you could drive around in the parking lot and you see the signs, because all of the stores are, have a storefront that you can see.
They also would like you to know where they are.
Right. We did not have that experience. We're just driving around this parking lot. We're okay, here's a Lowe's, here's a little other store, here's a BW3s, and we're just going around in circles trying to find it. And I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, no, it's none of these buildings. And I turn to my left and look to what is just a nondescript square building that could be an office block or could be a suburban office block.
Yeah, secret government facility, suburban office block.
Or like an unfortunate apartment, or the sort of place where you go where maybe your optometrist has an office, one of those buildings, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the windows are a sort of gray. It was probably built in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we go, we're I think it's in that. So we go over it. There's two buildings that are sort of next to each other, next to a section of the parking lot that is, for no discernible reason, raised about 8 feet.
Okay.
There's a ramp up to this part of the parking lot, but there's nothing underneath the parking lot, to my knowledge. So we're just in this giant raised parking lot in between these two nondescript buildings. And well, this is as close as the directions are going to get us. We hop out of the car, we go to find a sign. The sign says oh yeah, it's the building that you're looking for. We do have a sign for it. It is an official place of business. It's in that one over there. So we walk into this building, and there's no signs on the building, right? It's just building.
Yeah, I mean, this sort of building doesn't usually have signs
because it doesn't normally have retail locations.
Yeah.
So we walk in and we look at the building directory, and it says, oh yes, this store is on the lower level, office number 28. You're okay, I guess we're going to get in this elevator to go to the basement of this office block to find a game store. And we go down there and wander down a hallway for a while. And eventually, sure enough, there's a big double glass door, and we walk in, and it is full of 50 nerds playing Magic the Gathering. And they have a whole wall where you can buy dice. It is a legit store, but they're when we walked in, everyone sort of turned to look at us, and I can only imagine their thought was we don't recognize you. How do you know that this is here?
I was just going to say, the only part of this store that would make sense to me is if it was, okay, how old were the people in there?
Oh, I mean, anywhere between 25 and 45.
Okay, see, that actually, the fact that there's anybody in there under the age of 35, 40 is a little bit weird to me. Because the only thing in my head that makes sense for that store is if what they sell is super obscure war games.
That would make sense. That is not the case.
That makes sense, and it's full of
and Munchkin and stuff.
Huh.
It was just a regular, according to Hoyle, game store, but it was just hidden in the most absurd way possible. And the whole time we're walking down there, we're this can't be right? We have to be lost. I kept expecting to get to a dead end and be well, I guess this store just doesn't exist. And it was an old listing that we accidentally followed. But nope, it was there. It was working. It was hopping. It was just also in the basement of an office block.
Wow. Well, hey, man, needs must, I guess. Yeah. If you got to play Magic the Gathering, you got to play Magic the Gathering. So you go where the magic is.
Yeah, just follow that magic. Dave, then what is our fifth and final star of the week?
So fifth and final star of the week, Matt, it's a little hard to believe, but we are actually getting to the end of Kakuranger.
Yeah, Not today, but very soon.
Not today, but soon, next week actually. So we just want to remind you that next week we have kind of a weird schedule, which what we normally do. So I guess it's not actually weird; it's just out of the ordinary for a normal week. So next week we're actually going to watch both and cover both episodes of the last 2 episodes of Ninja Sentai Kakuranger, and then the week after that, we'll do sort of a series retrospective. We'll watch the Gokaiger episodes that feature the characters from Kakuranger.
Yeah, and I know that Sasuke appears in last year's show Ninninger, so I'm going to try to find those episodes so we can chat about that as well.
Yeah.
So we've got next week, which will close out the season, and next week we're probably not going to do 5 stars because there's not really going to be time for it.
Yeah, it's long.
And then, we'll have a week where we sort of cover stuff. Yeah. We'll have a week where we sort of cover stuff, as sort of a wrap up. And then the week after that, I don't know what we're going to do. We might do a Creature Royale. We might do a sort of off episode of a different Sentai show like we've done a few times before. And then following that is when we will officially start season 4 of the Super Sentai Brothers. So just so you have sort of the programming notes in your head moving forward through the next couple of weeks, that is our plan.
That's what's up. Speaking of Matt watching Ninja Sentai Kakuranger, let's go watch Ninja Sentai Kakuranger.
That is an excellent call, my friend. We're going to take a break. We're going to watch episode 51, Hero Elimination, and we will be right back. Ninja! All right, welcome back. We have just finished watching episode 51 of Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. Dave, how did this episode make you feel?
Well, I gotta be real, man. There's like a lot going on in this episode. I am excited, I'll tell you this much. I am really excited that, not to be like, oh, thank goodness we're finally finishing Kakuranger, but I am excited that this does really feel like kind of a last episode. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It really feels like we are rolling in. The stakes are ramping up. The action is getting crazier. There's a lot of like heartfelt intensity on the part of the characters. So, I mean, it was a great episode.
All right. Well, let us get into it. We start off, according to my notes, with a storm.
We do. We start off with a lightning storm, and we see Yamamba in her new her combat form, I guess, for like lack of a better way to say it. She's sort of like trimmed up, and the costume they have for her now is a lot more mobile than the one she had in the previous episodes.
Yeah, and her huge, like, open, like, gaping mouth full of, like, sharp teeth is now a lot more, like, stylized, and there's just some, like, zigzaggy patterns on her cheek.
Yeah.
It's a cool look.
So she is, she looks very cool. So she is with Daimao, and Daimao explains, and we may have gotten this before, but I actually had forgotten about it, so I was sort of pleased to see this, is that yokai are literally powered by human despair.
Right.
This is the whole...
Yeah. Like, that big cloud of energy that they have been, like, pulling down from is not just sort of, like, generic yokai energy. It is, like, that is the energy that they have gathered by causing human despair.
Right. Which, like I said, I had actually forgotten. So I was glad to be reminded of that. So he turns around and he says, speaking of causing despair to things, and Hakumenro is still there. Remember, he's been turned into a statue. Hakumenro, Tsuruhime's dad. And so Daimu turns to him, and I forget exactly what he says, but he's basically like, go be evil. Like, just go wreck some stuff.
Right, like, basically. Go cause as much despair as you can.
Yeah, that's sort of a broad charge. So we go from there, and we see Tsuruhime, and she is riding bikes.
Riding bikes with children.
Riding bikes with children. She's so happy. She's smiling. Everything seems great. And the guys see her riding, and they're like, oh, man, that's so nice. Tsuruhime she's had a really stressful time, like with her dad and everything. She's been really bummed out. How nice to see her with, like, lifted spirits.
Right, like she's actually having fun. And then Sasuke steps in and is like, no. Like, apparently I am the only one of us who knows Tsuruhime at all. She is definitely still feeling a ton of pain and is just doing this to try to mask all of that.
Like this, in fact, not only, she's only doing this, I think. I think he says, like, this is what she does when she is in a lot of pain.
So we cut back to Tsuruhime, and she's, like, chilling with these kids. And they've stopped riding their bikes and are, like, sitting around on the grass, and they're talking. And one of them, I don't know exactly how it comes up in conversation, because it seems like an awkward way to start a conversation.
Yeah, I just I think we have to assume that there was like a lot of conversation that happened before this, because this kid just leads with the fact that his dad left them because he was a drunk.
Yeah, like he was a drunk and he ran off. And then his friend says like, "Oh yeah, your dad's a huge jerk. He he was irresponsible and abandoned his entire family. Like your dad sucks." Which like on one hand, I can understand, like, if you are a kid and someone tells you that your dad sucks, like, that is not a cool experience for you to have. On the other hand, like, his friend is right and is actually, like, trying his best to be, like, a cool, supportive friend.
See, that's, like, okay, so, what's the kid's name?
Shigeru.
Shigeru, thank you. Shigeru, he's the one with the drunky dad, and then his friend is like, yeah, your dad is a jerk. And then Shigeru flips out. I read that completely wrong, because I thought the friend was being like, yeah, Shigeru, like, I feel you, dude. Like, you're an okay dad. Like, none of this is your fault. Your dad is a jerk. You know, like, keep it, you know, like, be cool, blah, blah, blah. But Shigeru flips out.
Yeah, and, like, just runs over and starts, like, hitting his friend. And Tsuruhime pulls him off and says, like, listen, maybe your dad ran off, but you know what? Like, adults have to deal with a lot of stuff that you as a kid do not yet understand. So, like, maybe just chill for a second.
Yeah, I thought...
Which is a weird message for this episode to throw in there. And I realized, like, okay, I think that what we are meant to understand here is that Tsuruhime's dad also, like, ran off and abandoned her, and that she is trying to, like, process those feelings.
Maybe project a little bit. Yeah.
But, like, there is a big difference between, like, Hakamenru running off to, like, try to save the world and accidentally getting captured. Like, there's a difference between that and Shigeru's dad just, like, drunkenly wandering away from his home and family.
I was going to say, like, there's a really big gulf of difference, because what it sounds like Tsuruhime is saying is that, like, hey, listen, who knows why your dad drank all the time? He maybe just had a lot of stuff going on. Maybe you were a bad kid. Maybe your mom is terrible. Who knows? It
could have been anything. You don't understand. Reason. You're not an adult yet.
Right. Maybe your dad had a really good reason for getting ripped all the time and abandoning you, his son.
So maybe why don't you try to be a little more understanding?
That's a weird message to get. But then this has reminded Tsuruhime that her own dad is gone, and so we get a shot of her being sad.
Oh, by the way, the Shigeru is not contented with this answer, and he runs away.
Oh yeah, he runs away. He's furious. So
Speaking of Tsuruhime's dad,
yep,
a building explodes.
Explosion! There's a building explodes, yeah.
And not just one building explodes. Like, we cut to Hakamenru, and he is, like, he's still sort of in his statue form. Like, he's moving very stiffly. He's all gray. His face is all painted gray. So he's clearly meant to still look like he is made out of stone. And he is just, like, slowly marching around the city, shooting eye blasts and destroying buildings.
Yeah, I got a really big kick. I thought the makeup that they did for it was actually very cool. Because he does totally still look like a statue, but is like running around.
Yeah.
So evil statue Hakamenro, there's got to be an easier way to say that. Evil statue Hakamenro is just wrecking stuff, and we see like buildings are collapsing on people, and the people are very sad, and there's a woman whose son, I guess, is trapped. She's yelling, help my son. So the other Rangers run up, they henge, and then they are going to like either go help the people or attack Hakamenro. But before they can get there, Yamamba and the Kuno Ichigumi like jump into their way. So the Rangers can't get over there.
And they don't just stand in the way. Like, they start giving a speech. And they're like, listen, that dude over there, that evil statue is...
Not to the Rangers, to be clear.
Oh, yeah, to, like, the people around. Are like, hey, by the way, that dude is her dad, and he is the one that is causing all of this. And he will continue to destroy this city so long as she is alive. So, whatevs, do what you want, but just so you know, so long as she lives, this, like, will continue. Like, it's all her fault, like... Now you have to, like, turn on her.
Right. That is all it takes. This is a very easy sell for Yamamba and the Flowery Kunoichi Gumi, because these people straight up Frankenstein mob immediately. Like, they just grab pipes and 2x4s.
It is convenient because all of these buildings have been destroyed. So there are just, like, pieces of rubble around that they are picking up to start chasing Tsuruhime with.
Yeah. So
by the way, Shigeru, the kid, was looking on during this whole exchange.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's supposed to get out of this, except that, like, dads are very bad and cause pain in your life, which, again, weird message.
Well, I mean,
Kakuranger.
We'll get around to it. I think what this is for is it is showing that Tsuruhime and Shigeru have, like, something in common. Like, they've got dad problems that they can bond over.
So, we do see, by the way, is that when the people turn on Tsuruhime, who, of course, they don't know that she's a Kakuranger, they just think that she's, some woman. But we get kind of a panned out shot, and all of their, like, rage and hate funnels into the cloud. And the cloud sort of, like, gets bigger, and there's more lightning. Their rage and hate does take the form of a rainbow.
It's a confusing visual.
Yeah, which is an odd one.
Yeah, like, you would think that it would just be, like, red energy.
Like lightning or something.
Yeah, but no, it looks like a beautiful rainbow ascending into the heavens.
Yeah, well, until it hits the evil cloud, which is definitely very obviously an evil cloud. So Suru just books it. She just runs away. We get a quick shot of Daimao, who is loving all of this, and he's laughing, and they can do a lot with this Daimao costume, but whenever he laughs, it looks inexplicably weird.
Yeah, because like, the face is mouth, kind of articulated, but not quite enough.
But it's really only the mouth, and so, like, the mouth is opening, and then he's just sort of shaking his shoulders. But there's, like, he's got giant tubes coming off of the side of his head, like Prince of Space style, and his shoulders are also gigantic. And so what you just see is, like, the shoulders kind of moving, but the rest of the body is staying still, and the mouth is opening and closing. It's not the most convincing piece of acting,
right,
in the show. So Tsuruhime,
she's running through the woods.
She's in the woods. She's very sad about her dad. She has a sad dad, and she is sad about her dad. Her dad is also sad.
Yeah, I mean, all dads in this situation. Is she mad or is she sad? She's certainly not glad.
She's certainly not glad because the situation isn't rad.
I was just about to get there.
Yeah. So anyway, she's sad about her dad.
You know who's bad is Yamamba, and Yamamba shows up.
Nice transition.
They're in the woods. She's in the woods by herself. Yamamba shows up and is like, "Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you again. I just thought I'd update you on what exactly the situation is here."
Yeah, I love this because it's such a pure RPG moment. Like the bad guy shows up to, like, bargain. So Yamamba shows up and she says, "Listen, here's the deal. I'm not here to fight." Like, Tsuruhime is immediately ready to fight. Yamamba says, "Listen, I'm not here to fight. Like, I will fight you, but that's not why I'm here. Here's the deal, though. Daimao has taken your dad's soul. That's gone forever. That's a done deal. That's not coming back."
Like, the guy that you see running around destroying things, like, it looks like your dad and it is your dad's body, but your dad's soul is gone. It has been stolen away.
Right. And the only way to release him from this hell is to stab him with this special machete I happen to have right here.
And then she throws the machete and it lands, like, stuck into the tree right next to Tsuruhime's head. It's a very cool shot.
It's a
cool looking machete too.
It's like a big silver thing, and it's got, like, a cool handle, and there's, like, a skull on the pommel. It's rad looking. Which, okay, listen, Tsuruhime, she has already told you that your dad, this is just obviously a bad trick plan. Like, don't.
Listen, I mean, Dave, I agree with you. This is obviously a bad trick plan. But, I mean, Tsuruhime's having a day, right? Like, she's not necessarily thinking clearly. I get it.
Yeah, no, I feel for her. I'm just saying, like, I feel like her previous experiences maybe should inform her actions a little bit more. But she says, listen, the only way to free your dad from this hell is to stab him with this special machete. If you don't kill him, Yamamba says, if you, and you specifically, do not kill him, then he is just going to kill forever. Like, that is what is going to happen.
Right. You are the only one who can help this situation, and the only thing that you can do is to stab your dad in the chest.
Right.
So, like, peace, I'm out. Just, do what you're going to do.
Right. You make your own choice. This is the only way to save your dad from living hell, though. So that's that.
So we cut away to the other 4 Kakurangers, and they're running all over town trying to find Tsuruhime.
Yeah, we get enough. Like, there are enough situations where it's just the 4 male rangers that I want to have like a special nickname for them. I'm 100% coming up dry, and it's basically too late at this point. But I do want it. I have wanted there to be like a special catchphrase just to refer to those 4.
Now, next season, when you have the 3 male rangers as opposed to the 2 female rangers, you can refer to them as the Bro Rangers, and that can be fun for you. Just keep that in mind for a couple of weeks from now.
Looking forward to that. So they're just kind of running around. They're looking for Tsuruhime because she just ran off and they can't find her. While they are doing this, the 3 god generals appear to them in like a phantasm and explain what Daimao is doing. They're like, listen, Daimao, who set this whole thing up,
right?
He's trapped Kakuranger in this stone form.
Specifically, they start off by saying Daimao has initiated the beginning of the final battle. Like, in case you, the viewer, are not paying attention and do not know how many episodes are left in this show, like, this is it. Like, this is where the end game starts.
Right. And he says, the thing that, like, sustains people and is good is love. And specifically, like, having kids, raising kids, then those kids, like, have kids of their own and raise those kids. The cycle continues. Like, this is mankind's greatest happiness. And because the yokai draw their power from human suffering, the most important thing is that, like, that keep happening. And also, like, infanticide / patricide, or matricide, I guess, is the ultimate yokai fuel.
Right, because like, that is the greatest despair that a human can go through.
Right. And he says, that is what Daimao, like, this is, they admit, sort of, they're like, this is kind of a masterstroke on Daimao's part to get Tsuruhime to kill her dad. So you cannot let her do that no matter what.
Right, like, the reason that Hakumenru is going crazy is not because of Hakumenru, it is because of Daimao. So if you stop Daimao, like, you can stop Hakumenru, and then you can save Tsuruhime from, like, getting into a fight to the death with her dad.
Right. I do feel like the much better option would have been for them to appear to Tsuruhime. Because they could
Maybe they also can't find Tsuruhime. I mean, listen, I know it's a long shot. Or maybe they just know that Tsuruhime is not willing to listen right now. That she's like,
she's just she's in a zone and she has some stuff that she's trying to figure out. So they say to the Rangers, they're like, listen, no matter what, you cannot let Tsuruhime kill her dad. Like, you need to go just defeat Daimao first, and that will solve the problem. We go from there. We just see a bunch of explosions. Bunch of, like, buildings are exploding and collapsing and everything.
Piles of rubble. And by the way, the piles of rubble at this point, when there is some rubble, it can look like rubble. But in Super Sentai, at least of this era, the rubble is very clearly made out of, like, styrofoam that has been, like, cut and shaped and painted to look like rubble.
Right.
So when, like, a big slab of rubble is on top of somebody, it's kind of believable. But when there is just, like, the screen, like, the camera pans over a shot and it's just rubble everywhere, it does just kind of look like there was an explosion in a craft store. Like,
right.
it's just
very obviously
styrofoam everywhere.
So there is just styrofoam everywhere, and there is an ambulance. So we see an ambulance drive up. The paramedics jump out. They either put someone in or take someone out of the ambulance. I don't remember which. It's immaterial.
Well, they're probably doing both because there's a lot of injured people around.
There's a lot of everybody's
There's not
hurt.
enough ambulances to go around, so one in, one out, basically.
So we see Tsuruhime, and she is looking at this, and she is like really, really upset because she feels like in some way she's responsible. I'm not really sure why. She is still running from the mob though, because we see like the mob come around the corner and they're like, "Where is she?" And Tsuruhime is just running away. Shigeru sees her, and he says, "Is that really your dad?" Or he says, like, people are saying that's your dad, and I don't believe it. I don't believe that is your dad because you're so nice.
And
Which, Shigeru, like, that's just not how that works.
But, she's like, yes, that is my dad. And he runs over and hugs her because they're having a dad moment.
Right. It's actually very sweet. So
it is extremely sweet. And, they're, the bit in the earlier part of the episode was definitely weird. But I'm glad that at least it set us up for this very sweet moment.
Yeah. So, it always throws me off when there's like a really heartfelt, wonderful moment because I don't know how to make jokes about it. And then
and then
I just feel the need to move on.
Well, because then we need to go directly into, let's see, what does my notes say next?
Well, it's Daimu and Yamamba. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we
have to go from a beautiful heartfelt moment between two people who are having their hearts broken over their fathers being away from them. And then we have to cut to a weird snake man talking to his tooth sister about how they're going to plan for the end of the world.
Right. So they say, listen, Daimu says, this is going about as well as I possibly could have hoped. This is amazing. And so what's going to happen is that she is ultimately going to give up. She's going to kill her dad. And she will be so consumed with despair guilt that she will leave the Rangers, and then, without their fifth member, their power will be broken, and then we will be able to defeat them kind of piecemeal, game, set, match time.
Right, which is sort of a crazy plan to be starting, listen, they don't know that the show is going to be ending in a few episodes like we do, but they don't, because they're in the show. But, the fact that is their plan is not, oh, this is how we're going to finally kill them. Their plan is, okay, this is how we are going to get Tsuruhime to quit being a Kakuranger. And then we can finally start killing them. It goes to show sort of how many different things they have tried that have not worked. That they're no longer just trying to send a monster to kill the five of them together.
I thought, man, when they sort of laid that out, I loved it. I was just super impressed. Because, that's some forward-thinking... that's some forward-thinking villaining, man. That's some good stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I just think it's really fun.
So, they're anyways, this plan is going super, super well. We're stoked about how well this is going.
So, we cut back to the park, and Hakumenru shows up. Oh, I'm sorry. When I say the park, I mean the park where Tsuruhime is hugging that kid. Shigeru. So Hakumenru just walks up and shoots eye lasers at them.
Yep.
The kid is sort of hurt, but he's I think maybe he's got a cut on his forehead. He's certainly not dead because this show is not going to go that grim, but he is not having a wonderful day.
I am going to assume that he's not dead because, as you say, that's would be pretty crazy for the show.
I mean, this isn't Jetman.
I was gonna say he definitely looks pretty dead. Tsuruhime is holding him and is kind of crying over his inert body.
She's just sad that he got hurt a little bit. It's cool. Don't worry about it. This kid's fine. He's fine, Dave. Don't worry about it. Everything's cool. Let's keep moving.
Cool. Great job. So
she has a flashback, to earlier in the episode, where Yamamba is telling her, do you need to kill your dad with a magic sword? Go ahead and do it. It's a cool flashback because it's in film negative, reverse black and white.
Yes. Yeah. They do a cool thing. So she leaves. So Shigeru is either fine or dead, whatever. And she goes and she finds the sword. And she pulls it out of the tree where Yamamba had thrown it in before. And there's like a lingering shot on the sword, and there's some writing on the sword. But I don't speak Japanese, and there's no subtitle. So the sword says something. I assume it's important.
So we cut back to the Rangers, who are all searching for Tsuruhime.
Yeah.
And like looking all over town.
Yeah. Well, we see Seikai is driving around in Nakamaru.
Yeah, and he finds in Nakamaru like a note that Tsuruhime has left.
Yeah, and the note says that she is going to Hell Valley Cave, which, we forgot to mention this. Yamamba had told her, like, that's where you need to go to kill your dad, is Hell Valley Cave. I don't think she ever mentions that to the other Rangers, but they react as though she did. So let's assume that that's the case.
Right, so basically her note just is like, listen, I've gone to Hell Valley Cave. Sorry, bros, I got to go kill my dad. I'll catch you guys at the flip-flop.
I got to do this thing. They say they're like, no, we can't let her do it. And we will. Again, I really just do not know why the three god generals did not appear to her. But they say, we will show Daimu like how close we are. Like we're a team and they can't do this to us.
And then everyone says, yeah. It's a very good, it's a very good Sasuke as inspiring
Sasuke
leader
as
moment,
yeah.
which we don't get a whole ton.
Okay, so from here kind of forward, there's going to be a lot of flashing back and forth. It's actually pretty good camera cuts because there's a bunch of things happening all at the same time. So Tsuruhime, she's got the evil sword.
Well, this is actually, I think, Dave, that you flipped the two scenes because this is where Tsuruhime goes to get the sword. Because we're cutting between her going to the woods to get the sword. According to my notes, we go to the other four driving with determination. Which is, they've got that look in their eye, but they're just sitting in a car.
So they are rushing. We see she's got the sword now. Tsuruhime is approaching the cave. We see Hakumenru inside the cave, and he's resting or something. Like he's just there. He's a statue, so it's hard to tell. But he's just there. He's not moving around.
Right. They drive up to where the cave sort of is, but they can only go so far on Nakamaru, which is, of course, crazy because Nakamaru can fly and could just fly over there, no problem. But they sort of forget about that in this moment because they need it for drama. It's okay.
Yeah, I also do appreciate that everybody just knows where, Hell Valley Cave is. That's just a thing that everyone knows. Also, I'm pretty sure Hell Valley... Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. I am pretty certain that Hell Valley Cave is the same cave where... Who was the White Ranger? Boon? What was that dude's name? The White Ranger from Die Ranger? The White Tiger Ranger. Not Boon. That's the ninja boy from this show.
Yeah.
Ko.
Yes, Ko.
I'm pretty sure this is the cave where Ko's mom dies. I think it's the same spot.
I was actually just about to say that. I think it is the cave where Ko's mom and also what's his name? Kamaru?
Yes. Yeah.
I think this is where those two died. So they have cleared out that rubble and those corpses, and now they have a new statue in there, and it's all going to go bad again. Nothing good ever happens in this cave.
Yeah, this is definitely not in a valley, though. I just want to... they call it Hell Valley Cave. It's definitely not in a valley.
But it is a cave, and it's, sort of hellish maybe, so I'm willing to give them the 2 out of 3.
So we see the Rangers, they're rushing towards the cave, yelling for Tsuruhime. Tsuruhime does not hear them. She is in the cave, approaching her dad.
Now, when you say they are all yelling for Tsuruhime, they are not all together yelling for Tsuruhime. They cut to the cave, Tsuruhime is standing in front of her dad. So they cut to the cave, Tsuruhime is in there. She is holding a sword. She is crying. They cut back to Sasuke. Sasuke says, Tsuruhime! They cut back to the cave. Tsuruhime is standing closer to her dad and kind of holding the sword and thinking about doing it. They cut back to Jiraiya, and Jiraiya says, Tsuruhime! And they just keep doing this.
They get in, I think, one shot of everybody. Everybody calls for Tsuruhime, and in between we just see Tsuruhime contemplating killing her dad and crying. She raises the sword. She's crying. She can't do it. She gives up. She's like, I can't do it, even if my dad is super evil or whatever. I cannot stab my dad. She drops the sword and she sort of collapses on the statue of Hakumenru, crying. as the Rangers are making their final approach at the cave mouth, Yamamba and the Flowery Kunoichigumi arrive and block their way.
Right.
And then they start fighting.
Yeah, they say, like, listen, like, you can't go in there, because if you go in there, you're going to stop her, and we're not going to let that happen. So we're all going to fight out here. Now, when they start doing this, the sun is still up. But throughout the course of this fight, it gets, like, darker and darker. So, like, they are just out there fighting all night. And what Yamamba says is that, like, since they are getting all of this extra, like, rage and hate and despair energy from the people, like, the yokai are currently at, like, their strongest point. Like, they have never been stronger than this.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that explanation, because, like, 3 seconds before that, I had noted, I'm like, man, I feel like the power level of the Kunoichigumi as it relates to the Rangers is just wildly inconsistent.
And
then Yamamba throws this thing out, and I'm like, oh, okay, great. Like, thank you for that explanation. That actually really helps.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
When Matt says that over the course of the fight gets darker and darker, what he means is it's daytime and it's daytime and it's daytime, and then we flip to Sasuke and it is 100% nighttime.
I think there was, like, a brief, like, transition, but yeah, it's pretty abrupt.
So
and as they're going through this fight, I was thinking about the fact that we're near the end of the show, and so, like, in the same way that I was thinking a few episodes ago about how I'm going to miss, like, the cool ninja fights, like, I'm specifically going to miss the cool ninja fights between the Kakurangers and the Flowery Kunoichigumi.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Because, like, they're so sort of, you know, like, depending on how the episode is being written, they're very evenly matched. And so you just get to see, like,
cool ninja fights.
They're cool ninja fights, and both sides have, like, cool ninja superpowers and awesome costumes and, like, special moves, and, like, they're teleporting around. And so you just get to see, like, okay, like, this one attacks Seikai, and they're fighting, and then Seikai goes to hit her, but she teleports away, and then she, like, jumps out of the sky and attacks him out of nowhere, and she gets him, but when she gets him, it's actually just his clothes, and he wasn't there, he was behind her, and then she teleports again, and, like, listen, I'm not describing it super well because there's a lot of teleportation, and that's hard to visualize, but the point is that I'm really going to miss this kind of fight in this show.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's really, really well done. So the next thing that we see is that it's just Tsuruhime crying again, and she kind of remembers all of the destruction that Hakumenru has caused, and then she's like, no, I think I have to. We flip back to Yamamba. She does, like, a crazy fireball. Everybody calls out. And then when I say everybody, I mean both Yamamba and the Kunoichigumi and the Rangers all yell out to Tsuruhime sort of at once, like, kill your dad, don't kill your dad, be cool, don't be cool, I guess.
Yeah, and that is the end of this episode.
Yeah, well, we get one final shot of Tsuruhime, and she has picked the sword back up.
Oh, yes.
And then she's sort of just, like, looking at her dad and holding the sword, and then that's it. That's all we have from this episode. So, man, things are ramping up seemingly very quickly.
Yes, indeed, my friend. But since we've gotten to the end of the episode and there are no sort of newly dead monsters to add to the Creature Royale, unless you have any sort of final thoughts on this, I think we're going to wrap up for the week.
Yeah, no, that finishes it up for me, aside from, man, I am really... You know what it is that I'm actually really excited about is I do not have an idea as to the shape of this final battle. Like, going into Dairanger, our very first season, I didn't know what to expect because I hadn't really watched a full Sentai series before, and it was good that I didn't have an idea what to expect because I still don't understand the ending of Dairanger. But Jetman, you know, going into Jetman, I feel like I had, like, a pretty reasonable idea as to how that was going to play out.
Right.
And I was pretty correct. This one, I mean, aside from the fact that the Rangers are going to win, I have no idea what the shape of that is going to be. I don't know if they're going to kill Daimu, if they're going to seal him away again forever. I don't know what's up with Yamamba. Is she just going to die? Is Hakumenru going to get restored, or is he going to die? Like, there's a lot of ways this can go, and I'm just kind of excited to see what is up what's up with the end of this show.
Me too, but that is for next week, Dave, because for now, that is going to do it for another episode of A View to a Kakuranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. We actually got a few emails recently. Thank you, everyone, for writing in. I was very happy to hear from you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
If you want to get any updates on future episodes or check out the things that we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, please remember, shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. Rate, review, subscribe on there. That's what's going to help new people find the show. It's not even iTunes anymore. It's Apple Podcasts, but you know what I'm talking about. Other shows that you can find on Apple Podcasts are the other Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, which you can also find at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.